Dan's here.
I love scotch. Scotchy, scotch, scotch.
Welcome,
Okay.
Dan.
What's up, guys? We're kicking off the salty weekends here at THL. This is John Revere.
I'm Dan, or Hertz Donut.
And this is Steve Cassidy 14.
And we've got a kick-ass lineup for you tonight. This is the last week before playoffs, so a lot of teams vying for a spot. A lot of really tight races. First off, we're gonna have Firpo versus Tazdingo. Firpo, he represents Entropy, and Tazdingo comes from the super sexy Archon Storm team. I've heard they have like a lot of hot guys on their team.
I think they have. Don't they have the highest PR of any team in the league?
Yeah. In addition to being extremely attractive and like
Extremely attractive. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the team. I believe I've heard of them. Yeah, they're cool. Anyway,
And unfortunately, they just clinched their playoff berth for this postseason. So,
Oh, really?
a begrudging congratulations goes out from me to the gentlemen that play on Archon Storm.
oh well, thank you.
He called us gentlemen.
We're gonna jump right in, and Tazdingo is gonna be bringing his Golden Druid versus Firpo's Warlock. So let's get in there. Firpo is bringing Warlock, Paladin, and Warrior, and Tazdingo is bringing Warlock, Druid, and Warrior. So the only difference, of course, being Druid and Paladin. What do you guys think of these lineups?
Love the Paladin. Secret Paladin is broken against
Yeah, it's
anything but
pretty annoying.
Patron. And I'm kind of shocked that Firpo did not bring Druid. I think Druid's also a top tier deck, personally.
I greet you.
Yeah, Druid's been doing very well in the qualifiers. Okay, so we're right in there. We see that this is Zoo from Firpo, and that's gonna be rough for Tazdingo. Do you think? That's still the case after TGG, despite the Savage combatants, who certainly help, and the Dalaran aspirants. I feel like this is still going to be definitely in favor of Zoo. What do you think, Steve?
I definitely agree, and especially with Tazdingo's hand, where he's got a lot of ramp and then nothing to do with all his mana crystals after he ramps up. He's going to be so far behind on board. If he could innervate out a Savage combatant really early on, I think he'd be in good shape, because you can just hero power knife jugglers and the like, but he can't, so he's going to be struggling to catch up.
Yeah, and as you said,
Important that we don't overlook the goldness, though.
There is a lot of goldness going on right now.
There's plenty of swag.
Coin? No, the coin came from Firpo, so we're not sure if this is a full golden deck. We will be anxiously checking in on that for you
We'll be
guys.
following this closely and keeping you all up to date.
This developments will be followed closely. So Firpo doing Zoo things. He has a great curve. He had Spider into Knife Juggler into Ink Game Boss. Really tough for the Druid to keep up with. But Tazdingo is drawing into his heavier minions, and on top of this ramp, he may have a chance of contesting this board. However, that is an Owl from Firpo.
That's a terrific pickup.
There's an Owl with a Power Overwhelming in hand.
Right.
And a
With
Voidwalker. Oh, yeah.
Well, and and a Creeper on board. That's
efficiency right there.
Yeah.
So he'll be able to silence that, and he will choose to remove it, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I think if Firpo continues to just outvalue Tazdingo, I believe he'll just, eventually wear down the Druid. The Druid's going to get outcarded extremely quickly, and right now Firpo is at 30 health.
This play is dirty. The Druid of the Claw into the swipe, so Tazdingo is going to steal the board back, or swipe the board back.
Right, but this Argus is so tough for Druid. It's gonna firm up these little minions, and Tazdingo's completely out of steam. So I think while that was a great play, oh wow, it looks like
Void Caller may come down.
What do you think of that play, considering he just picked up Jiraxxus? Also, what is Jiraxxus doing in Zoo?
I don't know the answer to the second question, but I do know a 315 body is really tough for Druid to remove.
Right.
So he's probably looking to get that down as soon as possible, but it's going to really come back to bite him.
Yeah, and with this silence, Firpo's really looking for a 2-drop, and he picks up something less than 2, so he can ostensibly empty his hand, leaving just the awkward Jiraxxus. And this is going to, again, present difficulty for Tazdingo. Tazdingo picking up the Emperor Thorazin, who is about as effective as a, I don't know, brick without a hand. He's
Nailed it.
golden though. We're sticking
is.
with this golden theme. That's pretty nice. The big game hunter is actually really nice for Tazdingo. There's a lot of targets in Zoo. Of course, we see nothing coming from Firpo.
Don't worry, the big game hunter's only going to cost 2 mana.
That is true. Yeah, so Tazdingo is actually contesting board control, and Firpo hasn't really been tapping, so his hand is pretty much empty. He's got this awkward Jiraxis and a 2/3, and the Knife Juggler is, I mean, it's not an alright pickup. Won't really be contesting this board, though. Although there's a perfect
There you go.
off curve, though, and he won't be able to drop both. So I think you have to just go Knife Juggler, but the problem is you're not going to have a board next turn, so maybe you just go Argus. This is
Well, I guess you're trying to. Yeah, the Druid's basically out of steam, so you aren't really worried about playing the Jiraxis early to bring your health down.
right. I like this play. He's not going to have any minions to play the Argus on next turn, so I think that's a great play. Tazdingo does pick up the Savage Roar, so the combo pieces are starting to roll in. And Tazdingo is going to
play it
here. I like this. I think Tazdingo
Yeah.
just had to weather this board, and then he was going to be in full. He also plays the Tempo BGH, and this is really going to set up a pretty intimidating board for Firpo to deal with. That's going to be... Oh, he doesn't play the BGH. I'm sorry. Firpo has now got to be worried about his health, although he did see a Savage Roar.
He's also got a Jiraxis.
Wow, and he's
playing Hellfire.
So this is like some mid-range demon warlock. I would even hesitate calling it Zoo. The Knife Juggler misses the snipe, and Tazdingo picks up Ancient of Lore. That's a great call. That's probably the best top deck you could have asked for.
And he finds a second
then he
one.
gets another one.
And a Living Root.
Nice.
Oh boy.
Living Roots. So Tazdingo refills his hand. He's able to deal with this board. All of these are gold. I think we've got a full gold set on our hands right here, boys.
Clearly why he's going to win.
Yeah, I mean that's
It bodes well.
what it's about. And this is threatening lethal right now on board. So Firpo.
And here it comes, everyone. It's the free GH.
Firpo will have to play Lord Jiraxis here just to stay alive. As Tazdingo is threatening 14 damage, the Hellfire will do nothing. He could tap, he could YOLO tap, but I think he's just going to have to go with Jiraxis, and that's just a terrible feeling to have Jiraxis go straight down to, what is that?
To a gigantic board.
And not only are you in a losing position, even if you Jiraxis, you're also telegraphing that your Zoo deck plays Jiraxis going into the rest of the match.
So perhaps you don't play it at all. I mean, I think Jiraxis is such an interesting bring and unexpected, extremely unexpected. I would probably just YOLO tap here and concede, assuming he can't find anything else. A BGH would be a pretty big top deck. That's Doomguard.
It's not going to do much.
Oh no, what if he discards the Jiraxis?
It'll show Jiraxis. And I think
It will.
actually considering this.
Oh?
Oh, Jiraxis!
Oh.
So
2 cards we don't ever see in Zoo get discarded. And that shows right there, Tazdingo, going forward, that he's going to have to play around both Hellfire and Jiraxis.
And Tazdingo, as all Druids tend to do, top decks Force of Nature.
The good ones.
The good Druids. And that's going to be game 1. So Tazdingo plays really...
That was really surprising.
Yeah, he uses his resources extremely aggressively, and it paid off. He was able to win board control, and then he just milled down the Warlock. So game 1 goes to Tazdingo, and he has Druid and Warrior left. What are you guys thinking from Firpo? Does he come back with the Demon Warlock, or does he go into Paladin or Warrior against Druid and? Or no, I'm sorry,
against Warlock and Warrior.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Warlock and Warrior. Whew. I don't know what he would bring warrior-wise. Patron might not be a terrible bring here. Paladin actually struggles in both of those matchups, assuming that Tazdingo is playing Patron.
Yeah,
well, and if he's got a handlock, the Patron's not at all what you want to bring.
Well, they're going to jump right into this. So Tazdingo brings Warlock, and that's going to be Zoo himself. And Firpo is playing what looks to be a Dragon or perhaps Control Warrior. So this Zoo.
Ooh, is this discard Zoo?
Yes, this is a really exciting game. This is a list from Just Saying. Tazdingo is a huge. He loves Just Saying and actually kind of plays really similar to him. And so he's
but he's not homies with him.
Yeah, unlike our friend Steve here.
Yeah, well, I'll just give him a shout out. Tell him his deck is being played on stream right now.
Is this the deck that you weren't allowed to discuss?
It is, in fact, actually. Nice. And then he went on to publish the list, I think, the next day. He made his article about it.
Gotcha.
So just to give an overview of this deck, it's extremely fast. This is a zoo deck that has a lot of high power minions. You see the Wrath Guard. And this zoo deck, essentially, it uses the mechanics of the Doom Guard and of the Soulfire. Kind of to its advantage, and it doesn't use Void Callers. So it curves super fast. The highest cost minion is the Doom Guard, and it's just an extremely quick list. That being said,
the biggie there is that it runs Fist of Jaraxxus, which benefits from being discarded.
Yes, I mean with Fist of Jaraxxus, yes, that's correct. With Fist of Jaraxxus and with the Soulfires, which are uncommon includes in Zoo, that's 16 burst. That is not really a custom. That's not really a Zoo standards. So it's really, really quick. But Firpo is just like, I mean, this is almost a dream hand. He's got all the responses. He had the Fiery War Axe. He had the Bash. He has the Death Spite. He's got the Twilight Garden. He's got the Black Wings Technician, the Slam, and then even the Shield Maiden to give him more protection. So Tazdingo's really gonna have to quicken this game up and hope Brawl's not drawn. And that's what this Zoo does well. The Zoo just really goes fast. In practicing versus Tazdingo, he actually killed my Patron Warrior on turn 4 with the Zoo.
Those Wrath Guards they're out of control.
They're pretty terrifying. Yeah, I think they're a really good card. People freak out about them, and Firpo actually is legitimately you could shield slam it for like 30 and kill Tazdingo in one hit. But obviously, since they're putting so much pressure and he doesn't have time to do that, that's not going to become a reality. So Tazdingo is going to empty his entire hand, and he is just going to lay on the pressure here. This is an enormous amount of damage. Oh, he left his trade. Okay. And this is still a ton of damage. He's almost threatening lethal, and Firpo's got to be feeling really uncomfortable with all this pressure.
Firpo does have a Shield Maiden and a Shield Maiden though, so he's got to be feeling pretty good.
And that taunt is just, I mean, that's 6 health.
Yep, it'll clear the imp, and it'll double as an execute activator on the Doom Guard.
Right. So. And there's
the Fist.
So he can play that from the hand, and
I think you YOLO here, and you hope it hits the Drake, right? Yeah. Oh, there it goes.
Wow, and that's gonna protect damage from coming to the Doom Guard, and that's there. He needs a taunt activator. He gets Dr. Boom, but Dr. Boom's gonna be too slow, and I think we're gonna see Firpo go with Shield Maiden here, just purely out of defense.
I guess he could Dr. Boom if he's feeling lucky, but
if he's feeling lucky, yeah. We see that Taz doesn't have a response, but I mean he can tap. So the next 2 cards, there you go. So that would have done it.
Wow. So Tazdingo perfectly on curve can defend this Doom Guard and
but he does choose to taunt it.
Oh, and he chooses the trade. I find that really surprising. That that opens the door for Firpo to get his execute off. So he's going to be able to execute here and then play the Dr. Boom. And he's sitting at 11 health, so he's only 6 damage on board. So a top deck Doom Guard would be lethal. So the first draw is not it, and he's not going to draw into lethal here. The Night Juggler is a little risky. These Boombots could do significant damage, and I think Tazdingo correctly decides to attack first. And it does hit the Boombot, but it goes face for a lot of damage. So Tazdingo is actually really low too, but he is threatening a ton of damage here. Firpo does have the taunt, but is he dead? I guess this Boombot really matters a lot.
Yeah.
If I'm Firpo here, I'd probably clear the 4-3 with my 7-7, and then...
Oh, he's going to forego hero power.
Oh, he's on 9 mana. I'm sorry. He can taunt and wow, he picks.
He forgoes the taunt.
No, he can do both. I'm sorry.
He's got the Sarah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I meant to say he forgoes the hero power, the 2 health that he could have gained.
Oh yeah.
So this is right down to the wire. Essentially, this Boombot could decide this game very easily. And
he gets a good one.
That's a really good one. That's an extremely good one. Flame Juggler won't be it. Tazdingo has to tap for lethal here. He has to look for
Soulfire.
The Soulfire is a pretty reasonable thing to expect.
And another fist.
And another fist. Oh, that won't be it.
Puppy will not do it.
Cannot get out of this. There's no way. The Knife Juggler was the best one to die for Firpo here. And so Firpo, down to the wire, outlasts Tazdingo's Zoo, and now both players have a lot of information on these Warlock decks. Tazdingo's is clearly really fast, and Firpo's is really slow,
different,
I guess. I don't really know what Firpo's is. So that's 1-1. Firpo ties it up. Firpo now has Paladin and Warlock remaining. We assume
I wouldn't be surprised if Firpo's is more of it's just a standard non-traditional demon lock with floating watcher in there.
I haven't seen
because of that Hellfire.
Right. I haven't seen that in a while, but I also haven't seen anything like his deck in a while either.
Right.
So that's really tough for Tazdingo to kind of anticipate. Likewise, Firpo probably doesn't really have any idea what Tazdingo's running, considering he saw a Fist of Draxus, which most people don't even know is a card. All right, so Firpo goes with the Paladin. We see right off the bat it is Secret Paladin. Tazdingo comes right back with the Warlock.
On perfect curve.
Having played some of this Warlock deck, I played it down to rank 5. I think this is maybe its worst matchup. This is really, really hard because the Paladin it trades really, really well in the early game with the Warlock, and then obviously at 6 and 7, it just sort of blows past the Warlock's.
Because the Warlock doesn't have any strong removal.
Right.
Yeah,
the Warlock
and Noble Sacrifice is just such a good card against things like Knife Juggler.
The Warlock has to race the Paladin, and the problem is it can't really do it by the time the Paladin gets. I mean, usually the Paladin trades off
by turn 6,
in the early game, and then once the Paladin gets to turn 6, it's game over for the Warlock. That being said, Firpo has an exceptionally bad curve. We also see Tyrion. So this might be a slower list. So this could be tough. He picks up the Knife Juggler, which could contest this Wraith. And I mean, if I'm Firpo here, you got to think you got to get stuff down to contest. This is a 4 damage minion, and you've seen that this is a very fast Zulus. So he's going to put down the Knife Juggler and the Redemption.
Redemption.
Wow.
Yes, that's a great play.
So Tazdingo now has to kind of play around all the secrets. He has no way to kind of proc the Knife Juggler, so he can't get a lucky juggle. I guess he's going to just probably have to play curve here with the Imp Game boss.
And Tazdingo's going to expect that to be Noble Sacrifice, so he's going to lose that attack. And so now he has to ask himself what he wants to do with the Wrath Guard. And that's the beauty of playing this Secret Paladin deck, is that you can play so many mind games with your 1-mana secrets when you have early minions down, because Noble Sacrifice plus Avenge is such a lethal combo that your opponent always expects. But things like Redemption can just ruin their day if you can redeem a Haunted Creeper or a Shredder early on.
Right. Yeah, and I think if I'm Tazdingo here, I'd try to still race. Obviously, I can see his hand, and Tazdingo is in a really good spot to race.
Yes.
If he starts trading, he's going to get in trouble. So he sees that it's not Repentance, it's not Noble Sacrifice, it's not Competitive Spirit. So by process of elimination, he can actually identify those 2 secrets as Avenge and Redemption. This Cog Hammer is an enormous pickup. It's going to force Tazdingo to trade into this Juggler and lose a lot of his board. And it also simultaneously is going to remove it's going to remove a lot of Tazdingo's minions. So Tazdingo's going to go for the juggle here. This is a good play. I like this because he's going to be able to get 2 juggles with the Imp Gang boss and with the egg. I think he's going to go with this. He could go for maybe an Argus. So he's going to go with this play. I like this a lot. If he gets lucky with these juggles, he could clear this extremely efficiently. There's one juggle down, and okay. So
But yeah, I was gonna comment on that. I think he actually wanted to do that in the opposite order to try to play around redemption.
I see.
So that
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so theoretically he could have gotten all 3 off the juggles.
Right.
Yeah, 3 total damage off juggles.
So he gets past redemption, and he continues his racing mode. And honestly, I think Firpo's in a lot of trouble here, because
see how these juggles go. That was a good one. And now you'll have Noble Sacrifice.
Oh, but Taz's juggle misses, so
yes.
Firpo realizes he should be killing this juggler off first. Slight misplay, and he realizes it. And then he's going to have to trade here. And this is kind of an ugly trade, too, because the Noble Sac, it does proc a juggle, and it's really nice against this fragile board of Tazdingo's. Yeah. Alright, so Tazdingo is going to play slightly off curve, but he plays the Defender of Argus, and I like his placement there. Obviously, you want to get the egg included, and I would assume Tazdingo would want to just continue to race. He uses the egg also playing around Noble Sacrifice correctly, and this is going to proc the Avenge, which has not yet been procced, and this is finally going to give Firpo an actual minion to really, some board presence. And Tazdingo trades.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
That's correct.
I don't think I would have traded. I think you have to continue to race, honestly.
Now Firpo's going to be able to Shredder and Noble Sacrifice again, and then come down with Dr. 6 on turn 6 with a minion on board, almost guaranteed.
Right, and that's going to be really, really... Yeah, Tazdingo is definitely losing steam, and Firpo's finally catching up to his high-end curve, which he's had stuck in his hand this entire game. So as Tazdingo, you really have to prepare... you really have to prepare as a player versus a Secret Paladin for turn 6. You want to be thinking about every facet, and he's going to flood the board. But this extra minion really is going to make trouble for him, as Steve mentioned. All right.
And if Tazdingo's been watching, he knows that both Tyrion and Mysterious Challengers have been in Firpo's hand from the mulligan. They were in his opening hand, so he has to be knowing in his head to be playing around both Mysterious Challenger and then either Boom or Tyrion, because they just haven't come down yet.
Right. And I would like to mention that while Tazdingo has hit his curve fairly well, he also hasn't tapped, which is really nice because Divine Favor is going to do no favors for Firpo.
Assuming he's playing it, yeah.
Right. So Firpo is going to go and, I guess, trade off this means probably going to trade the Shredder into the 4-4.
Yep.
He does. Ooh, wow. A 2-1. Interesting. That's actually not that great. And I'm surprised he even trades it.
Yeah, I am too.
I think he's afraid of being bursted down here.
And that's valid. Wow, only 3 secrets come down. We'll look at those really quick. He has Competitive Spirit, Repentance, and Avenge. Terrible secrets.
We've seen both Noble Sacs and we've seen the Redemption already.
So I'm surprised actually that he did just play both Noble Sacs instead of trying to combo them in with the Mysterious Challenger drop.
Ooh.
Interesting. Tazdingo really, really full YOLO'd there.
Kind of wishing he had Jiraxis first, I would imagine.
I mean, he didn't have lethal. I don't understand that play.
He also has enough mana to tap first and see what happens.
Exactly. Now he'll awkwardly tap after making that really YOLO play. Well, he's going all in here, and
oh, yes, he is.
He taps into the Wrath Guard, and honestly, if he had played the Wrath Guard instead of Fist of Jiraxis, I think he'd be in a much better position. Competitive Spirit pops. It's not, the 7-3 isn't really threatening Tazdingo's life totals, but the question is, Firpo is able to, if Firpo
he really just needs to survive to get the Tyrion down. Exactly.
Yep. There's no outplayed in this zoo, so Tyrion will ostensibly just completely
win the game.
Dreams. Yeah. And so now Firpo's just going to flood the board, and this is going to be a ton of things to deal with. Anything Tazdingo plays next turn, provided that Tazdingo doesn't actually lethal him. Tazdingo has many outs here, Soulfires, and there's Doomguard off the top.
That'll do it.
Tazdingo had, I think, a 4 or 5 and 8, 19. So he had a pretty high chance to.
Are you counting a fist?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if that fully counts as an
no. I'm sorry. I was counting 1 Power Flowing, 2 Doom Guards.
Oh, power, sure.
Yeah, he had about a 20% chance.
Yeah, so that was...
And then with the
any of
hero
the
power,
time,
he had about
so-
a, what, 35% chance if he got to draw
Yeah,
2
that's hard.
cards.
Well, Tazdingo sneaks out that win. It came down to the wire, and I think he played it fairly well. Firpo played it perfectly for what he could, having a 6 and an 8 drop in his opening hand against a super fast Zoo. So Tazdingo's down to his final deck, which is Warrior. And Firpo still has his Odd,
Zoo deck.
and he has his Paladin. And this Warrior is going to be Patron. So this is going to be... This is sort of a 50-50 matchup, generally. Firpo, if he has a quick enough start, can put enough pressure on the Patron that it really can't have time to set up a lot of draws or a big board.
That 9 drop in the opening hand does not imply early pressure.
Well, it does if there's a Void Caller.
That is true.
I guess that might be a little optimistic of me, but he does.
No, the rest of the hand's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean he's got the Busa Sergeant to even pop the egg, so he does have some pressure. And Tazdingo is missing any weapon, and that's huge in this matchup. I think Tazdingo. And also we saw the Hellfire, which is something no Zoo ever runs, and that's got to give Firpo a much better chance of winning. So Tazdingo is really playing defensive here, and he points out the slam to deal with the early pressure of the Flame Imp. And now this egg, while there is the power overwhelming and the Busa Sergeant may lay dormant for a little bit here, I would be surprised if he actually power overwhelmings down this Smith. And wow, Firpo is drawing. That Doomguard is not a good draw, and he's going to tap. And oh wow, he is going to power. So. I'm a little surprised by that. We did see a Void Terror in his mulligan, so we know he runs it. I guess he's just going to play this really quick and try to apply as much pressure as possible.
Well, he has to know the chances of this Nerubian sticking have to be pretty good, because he's seen the coin, and he knows he has at least 1 turn before a Deathbite would come down. So he's probably looking to sneak in damage and force awkward removal with it.
So Firpo...
I don't know how awkward that is, though. Now it is.
Exactly.
Firpo continues to apply pressure, and I like that he's maintaining his, he's keeping this up. Tazdingo is going to kind of try to draw and simultaneously control the board a little bit here. The patron, giving up that whirlwind with the patrons in hand against Zoo is definitely a little painful because they have such a difficult time dealing with the patrons. But I guess Tazdingo just kind of wants to outlast this early game from Firpo. And this is a little painful for Firpo if he's going to trade this Nerubian into...
I actually expect an implosion.
Like
after seeing Whirlwind, you have to jump on that.
Right, okay, that's fair. So, for 2, pretty unfortunate for Firpo, but maybe in the later game that'll
I don't know that is unfortunate
Yeah,
against the
exactly. That might be fine. So Tazdingo, looks like he's going to go with Gnomish. I think that's okay. He's definitely starting to feel the pressure, and he is going to execute this Nerubian.
Yeah, I mean, the 1-drops are all... Those are working in your favor. Right,
sure. Well, Firpo did pick up the Void Caller, and that's going to accelerate this mana curve much. That's going to be great for him. And he does play the Spider, which I think is... it's dangerous.
Yeah. And he's not running all those guys in. Maybe I fear Patron too much, but I would have wiped my board.
So the Death Spite is crippling. And that's going to really put Firpo on the clock now. He does have very powerful minions in hand, so if Tazdingo gets blasé with this Void Caller, he could get really punished. He is... Oh, I'm surprised he didn't Battle Rage there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised. Maybe he's really going...
He's going to make a lot of patrons next turn,
I guess, yeah,
he'll have the 2 mana on turn 7 with an Inner Rage swing, and then play patron, Inner Rage swing, and then you'll have 2 mana left over.
Right, and if he picks up a War Song here, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually goes with the Emperor. But maybe not, actually. Now that this Juggler's down, he's got to move. So Firpo continues to try to apply pressure. putting damage on his Void Caller is a great idea. You want that to pop. He got the Imp Gaming Boss out of his hand, so now he's got 2 huge threats in his hand. Tazdingo is going to pop Patrons here, and it looks like he's going to go for the draw over the Armor Smith. What is he looking for here? I guess a War Song would be really number
War
one.
Song, yes.
Yeah. So he's going to really, and let's keep in mind, Firpo does have a lot of demons on board. So if Mal'Ganis does come down, and Firpo could just play, or no, he couldn't play. What do you call it? Or Doomguard. Oh wow, we see a Harrison, and there's a fire.
Finds the War Song. Yep.
There's the War Song. So Firpo very much on the clock. This is definitely coming down to the wire here. How much damage does Firpo have? He's got 4, 5, 7, plus 2, 9,
14.
plus 5, 14. So he's only 3 damage off. That's pretty incredible. So if he picks up a Power Overwhelming, that's lethal. So Tazdingo's all-in play without the Armor Smith might come back to hurt him, although I think the draw was necessary. And picking up the War Song was
That's not right. I'm so
really
sorry,
good.
Friend.
So Tazdingo seems upset about something, and I
think he's a pro BMer.
Or maybe he's doing that, right?
He might have just gone through the exact same math we did and realized the Armor Smith was important.
Right. I mean, he's looking. He doesn't see the 7 burst from hand, but Firpo is like really close to closing this game out, and he's going to pop his.
If he gets Mal'Ganis, he wins, I believe.
Yes, he does. He does, because then he can play the. He'll absolutely.
The Sergeant into the Doomguard. He did not get the Mal'Ganis.
The Doomguard is. I mean, right now he can actually clear this board.
He can just clear all the patrons.
Right, and he's got Mal'Ganis coming. He's already seen it execute. So Tazdingo is definitely on the clock here. And this is a lot of pressure because this Doomguard is really going to start the clock. Firpo...
My shield for Argus.
Okay, he's doing it a slightly different way. I guess he's just trying to...
He's forcing anything with charge to die to the 3-1.
Right. So
he's playing around a War Song into a... Patron combo. It's actually really smart.
Really gonna pay off, and Tazdingo won't be able to do anything about it. Patrons aren't gonna clear this board. They will avoid lethal. He can't do anything.
They can't do anything. That's a very heads-up play there.
This game.
Yeah, he can run.
That was fantastic.
He can run. Yeah, that was a really nice play by Firpo. I loved how keeping the 3 attack on the Doom Imp Gaming Boss is actually going to probably win Firpo this game. So Tazdingo...
Now he'll Acolyte. He's just trying to create as much armor as he can.
Yeah.
But yeah, we know this won't matter because the Mal'Ganis will...
Mal'Ganis is a card.
Right. So Firpo plays that game really well. Very, very well. And he's going to tie this series up 2-2. And we're going to be going into the Patron versus Paladin showdown, which is how do you feel like that goes, Steve and Dan?
Patron is so favored in this matchup. It is like a slaughter. So Firpo is going to have to draw perfectly as well as play perfectly, as well as hope his opponent does not draw well.
Does not do either of those things.
It's like combo Druid into Control Warrior. Having played a ton of Secret Paladin this season, seeing Patron is your worst nightmare.
So I agree with you, but having watched the BlizzCon qualifiers, we've seen quite a few Paladins pull this one out. So I mean, I agree with you, but it's certainly not out of
No, it's definitely possible. Equality makes it better, and Divine Favor makes it much better. And we haven't seen either of those from Firpo's Paladin list yet, so I'm curious if he's running them. Divine Favor is actually usually not run in a heavy mid-range list because you just don't have an empty hand very often. Right. So I'll be curious to see if he's running it, because if he does, that can definitely change things in this matchup.
So Firpo seems to be struggling a little with if he wants to keep concentration. Do you think that's advisable, or do you think it's just not even worth it? If he's popped Patrons, you're probably dead at that point.
Yep, I would mull it away. You're looking for early game.
Yeah, so he does, and he gets 3-4 drops. But he does have the coin, and he has a lot of low drops.
He Didn't he hold on to 2 of the 4 drops?
Yeah, and I think that's really greedy. Even with the coin, that's just not a lot of pay. I mean, each turn this continues to go, the patron becomes more and more favored.
Right.
Like, it's absurd. If the patron just keeps drawing and gets more mana to pull off combos, the patron's just going to get out of control. So I think your only chance, and the only way I've seen, and he picks up Dr. Boom, the only way I've seen the pros win this matchup is by keeping muster
Early
for battle
pressure.
and competitive spirit.
Yes.
And putting on a ton of pressure early.
I also haven't seen a Secret Keeper in his list. Secret Keeper's very good early game as well.
Well, I wonder if he's running more of a mid-range list then.
It definitely looks that way from his hand.
Yeah, he could have cut it for... I don't know what he would have cut it for. It's a great hand. He's actually in a really good spot because he'll have 2 Shredders, and then he'll be able to protect his board with the True Silver. And the Dr. 6 is going to come down, and he's almost guaranteed to have minions on board on turn 6, which is where this deck is just lethal. So the patron player is going to look for ways to use the secrets to his own advantage. If you can swing into Noble Sacrifice with a patron, you feel really good about it. So it's going to be decided probably in turns 5 through 7. I would think we'll see who wins this one.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think this is going to get really tight, actually. I think you make a great point. He actually got into his curve of 4 drops with the Shredders and the True Silver. And now he can actually apply a lot of pressure and contest this board. Tazdingo, if he picks up an Inner Fire, he could just start popping patrons. I think he'll probably hold off one more turn.
I think, yeah.
And wait to double Whirlwind. The Acolyte's a really good pickup. It'll use a True Silver hit at the worst, and at the best, it'll get 2 draws. I think you absolutely play it here, considering you want to drop patrons next turn. He doesn't, and I think... I mean, Tazdingo's a really good patron player, so I would defer to him, but I would have liked to see the Acolyte drop. We see Avenge go up, or no, we see Noble Sacrifice go up. Of course, Avenge is already up. So Firpo with some of the more powerful secrets, and definitely really good secrets at maintaining board control going into turn 6.
And dropping the Noble Sac there is really important because he's expecting a swing with Deathbite to create patrons here. And so he will use up the Noble Sac from his hand just in time to get the second one out of his deck when he plays Mysterious Challenger. So that's really good.
Right. So Tazdingo goes for the draw here. He's gonna use his very precious Deathbite activator on his Acolyte instead of working on patrons, and
that is a big Shredder.
Yeah,
and he's going for the draw here. If he picks up the Execute, that'll be a really big pickup. He doesn't, though.
Does not.
And that's a
the
lot.
Paladin's feeling great. Oh, that's such a bad top deck.
Into turn Dr. 6 here with a 7-4 on board and a True Silver and an ostensibly empty board from Tazdingo.
He's going to hit 4 out of his 5 secrets, which is good.
Yeah, and
not getting redemption is kind of sad, but that's okay.
He has Competitive Spirit, Avenge, Noble Sacrifice, and Repentance, which blocks the patron. So this is a ton of pressure here, and I don't know if Tazdingo can actually get out of this.
My foot is going into my mouth. Firpo's looking really good here.
Yeah, I mean, and this is kind of what I've seen, actually, a lot of, is if they get that pressure. I mean, yeah, I think Tazdingo not getting patrons down before turn 6 is certainly contributing to this. And now Tazdingo, he has no Warsong Commander, but this is a decent, if you feel like you can afford it, this is a decent, or is he just, like, dead next turn? Let's see here.
Yeah.
That's 8 plus 7 is 15 plus 4 is 19. So he's 1 damage off death if he just were to play the Emperor. So Tazdingo tries to find his Execute, and he's not finding it. I really think you need to drop the Unstable Goal here, and then the Armor Smith,
and maybe even Whirlwind.
Well, the Armor Smith's going to get Repentance. So if he does this out of order, or if he's just going for... And he realizes it. Okay, so he plays that in order now. And then he plays the Armor Smith. So he's going to gain some armor, put up a small, tiny little ball, and just close his fingers and pray he's still alive. With the armor generated... Oh, Consecration was picked up. So...
Rip.
I don't think that's quite death. I think he's 1 off let's see here. 15, 19 plus 2 is 21, but the armor smith is going to provide, I think, like 3 armor. So, or 4 armor, actually.
He could YOLO Boombot. That's about all he could do.
I think if you're Firpo here, you just drop Dr. Boom and just say, like, come at me.
Yeah,
sure.
Whatever.
But Firpo is going to try to clear this board. I mean, Frothing Berserkers are scary cards.
I like the YOLO Boom play, personally.
I also like it, but Firpo, I mean, he's been maneuvering this game perfectly so far. So, and the execute finally picked up by Tazdingo, but it is probably too late. And by probably, I mean definitely.
Almost
Definitely, maybe.
So at this point, Tazdingo needs like an enormous patron war song turn, and he doesn't even have the war song, and his patrons are full price. So this is going to be next to impossible, especially with 3 secrets up. So Tazdingo is gonna look, but he might be able to get like a Doomsayer or something off the Shredder, but that's pretty much his last chance. No Warsong Commander means this is pretty much GG.
And even with even if he does manage to get an execute that does drop a Doomsayer off the pilot Shredder, Firpo's still guaranteed to have 1 minion on board because it'll resummon the Pirate of the Shredder.
Right. Well, I mean, it would stay his inevitable doom. At this point, there's no real way to contest this board. I think you have a 1 in 80 chance for Doomsayer. So, good luck.
Play the heart of the cards, Tazdingo.
Tazdingo is going to try to stick it out.
He's gonna do it.
He gets a lucky
Heart of the cards.
It's a good avenge target.
It's a smart move, yeah.
Execute is going to come down here.
Come on,
Yugi Moto is not happy.
And he is, he's not dead.
He's 1 off. Nope, he's
Blessing
dead.
of Kings
he's
says
dead.
he's dead.
Wow, so tight game, and yeah, the Paladin able to really well pilot it by Firpo, able to take it, and Tazdingo falls 2-3. So Firpo able to get entropy on the board. And
Firpo activates the clutch gene. He actually takes entropy into first place in the Bible Thump division. The top 4 teams are separated by a combined 11 points, and entropy now will be at 133 on top with Zenergy behind them at 132. And the Gosu Casuals, who will be playing for us twice, at 123. So him being able to come back and win those final 3 games has definitely created a little bit of a gap between Entropy and the Gosu Casuals. That's really, really, really clutch.
So huge win coming up for Firpo, and that's going to really affect the playoff picture. I mean, he stuck it out really well, and we kind of all second-guessed his mulligans, but those 4 drops really nailed down that mid-game, and he was able to seal it really quickly. Tazdingo, I think, got a little greedy, but not patroning on turn 5 or 4, or I think it's 6 actually, because he could have patroned and then whirlwind, but he went for the draw and he got really unlucky with his draws and wasn't quite able to pull it out. Pretty entertaining matchup though for our first game, and our next game is gonna be